So today we're just going to be sharing. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a sharing, and what this sharing is all about is the lack of separation. The lack of separation. The lack of separation. When I say the lack of separation, it means that there is an absolute limitlessness of all that is. Absolute limitlessness of all that is. And then there's a separation from that. There isn't a real separation, but there is a perceived separation of that absolute isness of all that is. And that absolute isness of all that is, out of that, or into that, I should say, comes a sense that there is a separation between you and it, right? So there's a separation between the vastness, the boundlessness, the infiniteness. I can't even say any more than that because it is beyond words, right? That there is a sense that there is a separate self that is disconnected from that, right? Some people might call that God. That's not what we're talking about, but some people might call that God. So, in this discussion, the separated self, the character that is in all of that, it happens to everyone on a very significant level, is that character is developed when we are very young, and that sense of separation, separateness, becomes concretized in an object and a subject relationship. So there is me as a baby, and then there's my mother, right? There's me as a baby, and then there's my father, right? And then as you grow, you go, here's me as a little boy, and then there's all the other little boys. Here's me as a little boy, and then there's all the other little girls. And then here's me as the lonely child, and then there's all the other people that aren't lonely. So it's subject-object. Everything is subject-object in the separated self. The separated self is always going to be in this place where it feels as if it has to get somewhere. It's got to do something. We'll talk about that in just a second. And it begins to seek itself. Now, it's not always seeking outside, for sure. It's seeking inside also. So, as I said at the beginning, this boundlessness, this isness of all that is, doesn't go away. It's not gone anywhere. It didn't take a trip while the separated self was like, I'm lost. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't do anything. It is, right? But the separated self goes, I have to have something. I have to be something. I have to do something, right? So the thing is the object. You are the subject, right? So there's this separation. What we're exploring in this conversation is that there is another way to be where the character, which is the separated self, is dissolved. It doesn't even dissolve because it wasn't there in the first place. There's a pointing to a resonance or an experience that is beyond all of that subject and object that we're talking about here. And so the seeking of the character is the confirmation that something's been lost, but nothing's been lost. Seeking to heal, seeking to get somewhere, seeking to change, seeking to be more, seeking to stop, seeking to be the absolute. There's no seeking to be the absoluteness, the isness, the all that is. There is seeking from the separated, contracted point of view, but the truth is that there's no seeking. It's appearing to seek. It's appearing. So as we walk through our life, there are glimpses of this all over the place. There are pointers of this all over the place. When suddenly everything is all I'm not saying everything is all good all the time, but there is a sense of, oh, it's right here. Wait a second. It's so right in front of us that we can't even see it a lot of the time for a lot of us. So this is what we're talking about. In a lot of circles, they'll call this non-duality. You can call it non-duality because that is another label, I would say, but that's okay. We're talking about the isness of all the isness, right? And I'll say this and I'll open it up. In that perceived separated dream state, I'll call it a dream state, there, in the separated character, there is developed an unease. This is why people seek money, seek fame, seek riches, seek love, seek whatever. So there's something at a very, very, very fundamental level. There's a feeling like something's not right. Something's not right. And it's not right. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. But there's a sense of dissatisfaction. And that, a lot of times, will send people on a spiritual quest or an intellectual quest or on to be successful in the world. It doesn't matter. And none of this is right or wrong because there is no right or wrong. So I'm just giving you the context to which we are speaking here, right? So there really, and for this character personally, is the melting away of the character has become just what's happening. And so as that's been happening, I'm sharing it and talking about it and seeing if there's anyone that wants to talk about it or is interested in it, because I feel like that well, I know that there's a resonance with some are not. And this sharing is not like, oh, I'm going to walk away with something, I'm going to learn something, because there's nothing to learn. There's nothing to learn, right? There's nothing to learn. And I said again, there's nothing to learn. So this is the basis of the conversation today. So if you have any comments or questions or even statements or anything, and nothing's off the table here, you can put that in the chat and I'd love to talk to you. Let's see. Mel says, I feel it's the expectation of what you think or feel or been taught it should be instead of just realizing it is how it is. That's beautifully said. Let me say it again. I feel it is the expectation of what you think or feel or been taught it should be instead of just realizing it is how it is. You know, when I teach, I often talk about expectations. And the Buddha talked about expectations. And when the Buddha says that expectations are the cause of suffering, he said a few things are a cause of suffering, but he said expectations are a cause of suffering. So the only thing that can have an expectation is the separated self. The absoluteness, beingness, infiniteness of it all doesn't have any expectation. It is. That makes sense. Thank you for that. If you're new here, you can ask or say anything that you would like. Everyone's quiet today. Nothing wrong with quiet. This is beyond words, really. So. Mel says it's hard to put in words for sure. It is hard. It is hard. But remember that this doesn't need to be put into words because it's so intimate and so right here in front of us that we all know it on some level. And so it doesn't have to be put into words. It doesn't have to be put into words. Mel says the Shakespeare quotes I posted were so whoa. So Mel is referring to, I sent a newsletter out this week, and I'm a huge Shakespeare fan, and I've studied Shakespeare. I've done a lot of Shakespeare in my acting days. I've directed Shakespeare, and she was referring to this newsletter that I wrote, and it was about pointers, which is true. That, in fact, that's the name of our circle now, Pointers to Truth. Is there all of these Shakespeare really had this down, understood it, and there was all these Shakespeare quotes that are just will blow your mind when you understand, what he's really talking about, right? Let's just take a couple of them. All the worlds are stage, and all the men and women are merely players, right? So, the infiniteness, vastness, isness of it all, the absolute, and the contracted form of the man or the woman on the stage, right? Another one he says that I use all the time is nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. How the thinking is working is your clue to the experience that you have, either in the isness of it all or in the separateness, for sure. You either are dying in your head or you're thriving in your head. I mean, that's true. Also, of course, to be or not to be, that's huge. That's huge. To be or not to be. Who am I? What am I doing? Am I doing anything? What am I being? Right? And this is another good one. All that glitters is not gold. All that glitters is not gold. Giving the idea that there is something completely different going on here, right? There's an illusion happening. And then on my broadcast the other day, someone brought up, which I haven't thought of, and I know the play, I've done scenes from it, much ado about nothing, because nothing's really going on. But in the rat race, everyone's running around trying to do something, but there's nothing to do. There is nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to be, right? You don't have to get somewhere. You don't have to be somebody, right? What's the one from, I just had it. I need to look it up a second. The one from Midsummer Night's Dream. Oh, Midsummer Night's Dream, he says, Lord, what fools these mortals are. Lord, Lordy, 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 what fools these mortals are. Of course, he's talking, and this mortal coil. This is the mortal coil, the body. It's holding you in this small loop of reality. And you're so foolish to think, and it's not foolish, but from Oberon's point of view in the Midsummer Night's Dream, he looks down and he's like, oh my gosh, these humans are insane. You get it? Pamela says, yes, Shakespeare might have understood. Yes, he definitely did. Non-duality. Nina says, when people cut me off, I often say in a hurry to go nowhere. That's good. That's good. Because nothing's happening and you don't have to go anywhere. That's good. I love it, Nina. There are pointers to this all over the place. If you just look, you watch I said this in the newsletter, and I will say it all. I will keep saying it. Once you see this, you can't not see it. It's everywhere. I mean, Shakespeare's got a lot of them. But once you see this isness of all that isness in whatever it happens to be, you will see separation all over the place. And then you will also see all of these pointers. This is for me, right? For me. But this character is kind of going away. I had this real mystical experience the other night. Oh my God, it was incredible. And something that never happened to me before, because it's a long story. I'll save that for another time. When the sense of the character starts to go away, there is a connection to all that is. And you just, whatever appears to happen is what is happening. That's it. It's it. Right? And so this isn't a goal setting or figuring out how you are or what to do to make sure you get into non-duality. You can't not get into non-duality, whatever. You can't not be in the isness of all the isness of the vastness of the absoluteness. Oh, that was good. I need to write that down. I'm going to go back and write that down. You can't not. It's just the way it is. Sue says, everyone is in the now, but our minds take us elsewhere. That's the separation. And that's just, and like I say here all the time, that's just what appears to be happening. Right? That's what appears to be happening. It's the phenomena that appears within the absoluteness.